Hello and welcome back. We are going to take a further look at the ADR, but with a twist because we're going to look at Forex. This one's for you, Helen. Thank you for the comments. I really hope you enjoyed this. Um, so before I get into it, you know the old story. I'm not a financial advisor. This is not financial advice. So to calculate, the ADR, you just go back however many days you want to calculate it for. You take the sum of the high and the low, add that, right? Sum the difference between the high and the low uh, for 14 days straight. Add all of those 14 days together if you're doing a 14-day period, and then divide it by 14, and that'll give you your average daily range, right? So you can do it that way, but why would you? Go to your indicators and get the Trader's Reality Main Indicator. And while you're at it, get the PVSRA Volume Suite as well, because it is a volume tick indicator with vector properties as well. Very handy. Let's see a handy example. Oh, right here. Okay. So today, 7 o'clock, you see not much action, not much volume. Then we get a peak up with a decent move, nothing crazy, right? At 6, and then at 7 o'clock, we get almost double the volume here. We get a wick to the upside, but nothing, it's not going anywhere. So that's a pretty good indicator that we've got some trapped longs here, and it's a decent opportunity for a scalp. Oh, look at that, 53.6 pips. Amazing. Okay, moving on. That's not why we're here. We're here to look at the ADR. All right, so once you have got the Trader's Reality Main Indicator, this is what it's going to look like. It's a bit hairy and scary because there's a ton of stuff on here, right? I am going to hide a lot of this because really what I'm interested in is the ADR, which is 88.58 pips. So come into the settings. I'm just going to really quiet this down. And you can make yours as quiet as you want or as loud as you want. So in the inputs, what I do differently for my ADR length is 21 days. Stock comes 14, and for crypto I use 14, but for the ADR for Forex I generally use the 21. Now that's not written in stone, right? You have to sort of play around with all of these settings because the market changes slightly. It goes, it evolves, it devolves, it's quite fluid, so you have to be quite fluid as well. If the 21-day length isn't working and you find that a different length is, then use that until it doesn't work anymore. Then adjust. All right, so that's the one change I make from 14 to 21. And other than that, it's pretty much stock, right? So down here you can change, down here you can change, if you want to see currency, you just turn the pips off and turn the currency on, right? But in this case, we want pips. All right, so it's calculated for us. We don't really have to worry much about it. Okay, so today is 88.58 pips, so we'll just call it 88 pips. For those of you who like rounding up, you can call it 89, call it whatever you want. Not a big deal. Okay, so I'm going to actually just quiet this down because we all agree that it's 88 pips, and I don't need this to be noisier. All right, so the first thing that you need to do, it's exactly like the last video I did, was we're going to mark out the Asia range, right? Big difference is that the Asia range for Forex, we start at 10 o'clock. So for all of you guys who trade just crypto, yes, for crypto we start the Asia session at 9. But it's still kind of considered dead gap time, right? So we don't really do much with the 9 o'clock, but that's where it starts for us, the Asia session. So we are going to mark out our Asia session low to high, and funnily it just kind of pumped up. It was just went opened at the low and closed at the high. That's very nice. Okay, so let's check out how many pips. Now yesterday it wasn't 88.58, it was the 88 point something else, but 88 pips. So our Asia session has already moved 73 pips, so that doesn't give us much room to find those other 15 pips or so, right? And here's your stop hunt. So you could have traded this, and all you really need to do is measure this out. And here's 80 pips, an 80 pip move. So if you can find a reason to long this, it's a definite go. I'll find you one quick reason. Yeah, that's a pretty decent reason. That's a pretty decent reason, not bad at all. Okay. Okay. So we've pretty much exhausted the daily range, right? We come down into a golden pocket, and it's a stop hunt, right? So we've just stopped out all of these Asia longs. Boom, stopped out. 100x traders. Some of them were pooping their pampers. Anyhow, so that's one way to use it when Asia produces a big range right off of the bat, right? So once it does, you really want to mark off these highs, mark off these lows, and then wait for your stop hunt. Now personally, I would have been in right here. I didn't trade this because I was not around. I've had a very busy week, and it will continue to be very busy, so I'm not going to be trading much, unfortunately, this week. But this is really what you want, is 50 pips. 50 pips is kind of what we're going for with this strategy. And the reason I would have traded this is because of this candlestick pattern. In the market maker method, these 4 candlesticks together, or more of them, if they come in a bunch like this and the bodies are all very similar, this is called the cow, which stands for cord of wood pattern. All right. If it was just these two and then it came down, this would be called railroad tracks. So a cord of wood is just like extended railroad tracks, all right? Hope that makes sense. So that was your 50 pips for the day. Take your 50 pips, go walk the dog, go enjoy a delicious beverage, go do something with your life, because you've already earned what you needed to for the day. Okay, now let's mark out our next Asia session. So here's Tuesday's Asia session. Now you'll notice it's quite a bit smaller. So what are we going to do here? Well, we are going to mark off from the high. Let me just shrink this a bit to give me the space. From the high, you're going to mark out dang magnet. From the high, you're going to mark out 25 pips. Or 24.9, that's close enough. And you're going to mark out 50 pips. Or 50.1, close enough. And you're going to, yep, magnets off, good. And you're going to mark out a box and this box is going to be your stop hunt box. All right, so 25 to 50 pips above the Asia range is where you're looking for stops. Then we're going to do the exact same thing from the low. Uh, you're going to mark out 50 and 25, as close as you can get it. And we're going to mark that out. So these are our stop hunt zones when the Asia session is quite small. So today's ADR is 88 pips and the Asia session is 30 pips. So you've got 50 pips up or 50 pips down for the range, right? Pretty much 58 pips even. But usually that's not going to happen. Very rarely will it pump through the stop hunt zone unless there's some crazy news events happening. But for the most part, it won't. So if we take it from the high here, we measure down to here, we're looking at 63 pips. And yeah, that is not the 88 pips that we're hoping for. But no matter. So in this box or this box, you just wait for price to either come up or down. Once it gets down into this box, we're looking at this on a lower time frame, right? So you can come down to the 15-minute. You can even come down to the 5-minute. Personally, I'm a huge 3-minute guy when it comes to scalping because I want to see these moves happen quickly. And that is when I would then turn on my trader's reality indicator, and I'm just looking at where we are in space and time in relation to the EMAs and everything else. All right. So if I don't glean that much information off of there, this is how I play this out. So don't do what I do. Let me get this back to a 1-hour chart. Don't do what I do. Do what you do. All right. But I'm just going to give you some ideas. Okay, so first of all, we still have in play this golden pocket. You see we've wicked down. These wicks are pretty telling, you know. They're trying to keep price above this range for some reason. We wick down. We're still in yesterday's Asia range. So what I generally expect when we open a range inside of another day's range is we're just going to kind of take the lows and then try to take the highs. That doesn't always work, right? Doesn't always happen, but that's what I'm usually looking for. In this case, because we haven't tapped the actual deep end of the golden pocket, that's really what I would be looking for. Now, I wouldn't put a trade in the golden pocket. I would use my stop hunt box. So what do I do for that? I put in a fib, and I have a pretty much a Gann style fib template. So I would ladder in very small entries right off of the beginning of the box, off of the 7-5, off of the 5, off of the 2-5, and I'm gradually putting like the bulk of my position towards the back end, right? Now, this would have triggered 2 of my entries, hopefully, That 7.5 should have been hit. So it wouldn't have been a huge position, but that doesn't really matter. I don't care. I'd rather be successful than if this goes against you. You know, your stop loss will quickly get out of control, right? And so far we're looking at 53 pips. So there you go. There's 50 pips. That's all you need, right? And in fact, like if I'm getting towards a 48 pip day, you know, I'm pretty happy with that. I don't need 50, but I do like 50. 50 is nice. And that really is this strategy, all right? So big range, look for the ADR to kind of be hit, but be aware that it's not going to rip down into, you know, it's not going to go 25 to 50 pips away from the Asia range. Sometimes it will surprise you, but you know, this is just two different ways of looking at the Asia range and the stop hunts. Okay, there's a ton more, but I usually use the ADR in Forex for the stops. It's also very important to understand the market maker levels and know where you are in space and time. We're pretty much at a high right now, a peak formation. If we bring this out to a 4-hour chart, right? So we had this W, level 1, level 2. Some people would call this, sorry, this is level 1. Level 1, level 2, level 3, and now we're just waiting for a peak formation or a reset formation, right? So we're either going to create an M style pattern, which could be a head, neck, shoulders, could be railroad tracks, could be anything to reverse off of. Although we could also put in a W, which would be a reset, and then we would continue upwards, right? Now, having said this, let us take a peek at some other information. So I mentioned, pardon me, the TDI. Okay, we're coming down, testing actually previous days Asia lows. So gets a lot of respect. This is why I always tell people don't, you know, mark off your Asia sessions and do not take them off for the week. Just let them run. You know, you don't have to always have them on your chart. Put them in a folder that you can quiet down your chart. But they're pretty well respected. All of the sessions are pretty well respected. New York highs and lows, London highs and lows. So price is bouncing around, and we have these building bullish divergences, right? But until we come into this zone, we're not interested. You know, this could bounce around here all day long. Comes into the zone, you get two triggers, pardon me, two entries triggered, and then you're off to the races to get your 50 pips with bullish divergences on the TDI. And on this level, we finally clear the market line indicator, right? The market line, sorry, the yellow line. All right. We also clear the red one, which is blood in the water. So that is what you're waiting for, something like this. But honestly, don't get caught up too much in these. You know, you're already building the bullish divergences. You're putting in higher highs, and you're pretty much staying in the same. You know, you're putting in consistent lows while the TDI is putting in higher highs. Forget it until it comes into your box. So, Asia session, stop hunt boxes, kill them. If the Asia session is too big, like if it's you know, even if it's 50 pips, it's going to be a bit of a tough one, but it might get there still with 50 pips. But once you hit 60 pips, then I'm looking for, if it turns the other way, look for the stop hunt to the other side, or look for these types of patterns. On the 15-minute, let's see what we got here. Okay, so here's our Asia session. You see we're building bearish divergences. You get railroad tracks right here. So you could have entered here. Your stop loss would be above the Asia high. All right. I know I'm showing you the same trades over and over again. There's your 50 pips. Go walk the dog. Even this, they're very similar. Wick up, wick up. This would be a nice entry actually right here. And you are building those divergences still. All right. So even if you had have gotten in here and you see this happen with more bearish divergences, and we're coming off of a relatively oversold signal here, that's pretty much a shark fin, not completely, but pretty close. You could have definitely added or even waited for it, really. So yeah, that's about it, really. So that's two ways of looking at it, but don't stop there. Constantly, write this stuff down in your journal. Make sure that your stop hunt boxes are working for you. If they're not working, change the settings, change stuff up, but don't trade it, right? Like even this, don't trade this. Look at this, put it down on your chart, see if it plays out. Just do it for a couple of weeks without trading it and write down the results, right? Write down the results as if they were trades you took, but you didn't take them, right? Which is what you should do in a journal. Have a trading journal. Always put in your winners, your losers, your scratches, and just ideas, right? Like back testing is fine, but front testing is really good. It's really, really good practice. All right, you can't practice back testing, right? But you can practice in the future. So while you should backtest things, you should always future test them as well, because that's really where you're going to start to learn how the market actually plays out. You're going to learn not to get nervous when some things happen like this, right? If you got in on the 15-minute here and then price went against you, but your stop loss is above the Asia high, you'd be fine. And you'll only know that by practicing this stuff. So that is it, my friends. Helen, I hope that was helpful. If you have any more questions, please feel free. And you better leave a like, Helen. Just kidding. You don't have to. If you want to join the Discord, I'll leave a description. I'll leave a link in the description. Yeah, you can come on in, ask questions. I reply to everyone. Crypto Viking's also in there. He replies to everyone. So join and ask questions, all right? So that's going to do it, guys. I hope you found that interesting. Again, leave comments if you have any questions or concerns. And that's it. I'll see you on the next one. Be safe and be well.